What's going on, scholars? NFL calculus nerds, here we go. We're going to be going over the 2.4, 2.6 calculus AB examino. We're going to do this like it's cool. All right, so this is how you're going to be able to go over all the answers, and then just come on in if any of the steps aren't quite connecting with the brain. All right, so the first few are pretty straightforward. Let's just go ahead and crack on these guys right here. All right, so it says find the derivative, right? So we're going to apply the chain rule. We're going to think of this whole thing as just u. So if it was just u to the power of 8, if I was going to find f prime of t, then it would just be 8u to the power of 7, right? And so what's going to happen is that we have to multiply that by u prime. So basically, if we kind of do our substitution here, my u is 3 minus 7 to the power 6. And then we just multiply that by the derivative of inside of here. So let me just do that substitution. So my u is just 3 minus 7 to the power of 6, power 7, times, find the derivative of this. And basically, it's just going to be 6 times 7. So it's going to be multiplied by a negative 42. And then we have t, right? And then to the power of 5. All right, and of course, you can clean it up. You can multiply negative 42 by negative 8 and all that. But as long as you've taken the derivative, you're good to go right there. Problem 2, find the derivative of the function. So again, it's the same thing as the first, just now we have a fraction here. Again, think of this as our u. So if I'm going to find the f prime of t, I'm going to bring my 6/5 down. So that's a 6 over 5 times that by a 6 plus 3t. And then we're going to have 6/5 minus 1. And our 1 is going to be 5 over 5. So 6 minus 5 is 1 over 5. Okay. Now, don't forget, though, we have to take now the derivative of what's inside of here. So we have to think of this once again as our u. It's u prime. It's u prime times u prime right here, right? So we took the derivative of this, but now we have to multiply by the u prime right here. So which is just going to be 3. And once again, you can simplify this by multiplying that. But that's good enough for the answer there. Number 3 here. All right, this is just basically if you knew what the derivative of cosine was. So this is negative 5 times this term right here. So you don't have to use the product rule. I know some of you were trying to do that. We only use the product rule if you're multiplying two separate terms that do not involve the coefficient. If it's a coefficient, then this is basically leaving the negative 5 on the outside, right? So it's kind of like negative 5 times, and then what's the cosine of 6x? So what's the derivative of cosine of 6x? Well, that's just going to give us sine of 6x, right? So again, I just dropped down my negative 5, and the derivative of this guy is just 6, or sine of 6x. But think of 6x as our u. So you got to multiply that then by 6. You know, and that's going to be enough right there. Okay. Well, now down to this hairy guy. This guy's going to maybe take a tad bit longer, to say the least. So it says, find equation to the tangent line to the graph of f at the given point. So if you want to find equation to the tangent line, then that means we have to find, well, what is this slope right here, right? So let's find the slope. What's the slope? What's the slope of this guy right here? So that means our first step is to find f prime. Okay, so let's find f prime. Okay, and the derivative of just tangents, okay, it's going to be secant squared. So we're going to think of this as u, though. We're going to be like u to the power of 8. Okay, if I'm going to take the derivative of this, wouldn't that be 8u to the power 7 times du? Or just we're just taking the derivative of u? It's the same thing right here. So basically, I'm just going to drop down my 8, multiply that by tangent to the power of 7. And now, what's the derivative of just tangent now, right? Because our tangent is what our u is. So our u prime, or our tangent, is going to be our secant square. So let's get secant square root of x. Okay, there it is. So this guy right here will settle as our slope right here. Okay. So this represents the slope right here. This is the slope of the tangent line. Okay. But I think we need a numerical value, right? Because they want to know what's the slope at this given point right here. So it seems to me that we're going to have to plug in 4 pi over 5 into x right here. All right, so there's going to be a little bit of calculator work to say at least. I'm going to do f prime of 4 pi over 5. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking, or what is the slope of f prime? Well, I plug in my x value so I can find the derivative at that point. Okay, so 8 times tangent of 4 pi to the power of 5, or 4 pi power 5 here. I'm going to multiply that all to the power 7 times secant of 4 pi over 5. And I'm going to raise that whole thing and square it. Okay, now, if you look on a unit circle, 4 pi over 5 is not one of our nice 30 degrees, 45 degrees, or 60 degrees. So we're just going to get an approximate decimal place of this guy right here. Okay, so if you do an approximate decimal, like all this is going to give us negative 1.31. Okay, so our derivative, or in application, our slope at 4 pi over 5 is negative 1.31, which is also known as our m, right? So that's our slope. All right, so now we go back to our Algebra 1 days. If we want to try to find the equation of a line, don't we use point slope formula? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, which we're going to plug in this guy right here for our m, right? And look, haha, I have a slope right here. Actually, I'm sorry. We have a coordinate point. So let's just go ahead and plug this guy in right here. That's going to be our value of x. And this guy right here will be our value of y. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Over here. X1 and Y1. All right, so let's just go ahead and plug those all in. And we're going to be able to find our equation of a line here. So y minus, let's see, our y1 is the 0.078 equals my m, which is the negative 1.31, times x minus 4 pi over 5. And you could write that as a decimal, and I think I'll probably write that when I'm done here. So if I multiply this through and carry this guy over right here, you could go and do that yourself right there. So you would get y equals negative 1.31x plus 3.36. And again, like I just use decimal versions here. You could have kept it in pi, but then if you're going to add pi and a decimal, you might as well just make both of those guys a decimal right there. So there's the first 4 problems.